A new age comes along as everyone now starts to find themselves in a brand new position. A league waited years in the making. A car waited and now entrenched forever to be in folklore and history. This is the British Sim Racers. This is TCR driving. And this is a Sunday Cup fit for kings and queens as we get conversation started and we get ourselves qualifying currently underway here on Forever Sim Racing. It's Jake Sperry here in the commentary booth. Cisco Scaramusa out on cameras for us. Cameras provided by Dougie Beard. A massive thanks, of course, go to Forcex Designs, who have been instrumental in terms of the graphics package, along with Violet, whose music that you have heard out here so far for the beginning of this broadcast. It's WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca, the former Mazda Raceway, now playing host to the opening round of the championship. And what an iconic track it is here in California to start off proceedings. Some say here in Salinas that it's a little bit of a dust bowl. Some can agree to that, but this is a fantastic track which does so many different things out there to challenge drivers left, right, and center. And the biggest challenge of them all, of course, is the fabled corkscrew, which it itself comes down in folklore, as every driver will do who starts this championship. This is 3 races that you're going to be seeing tonight, 2 of which are 15 minutes and 1 30-minute final race of the night for the first 3 rounds of the championship. We're going to be here every single Sunday for racing action, 3 rounds for 12 weeks that form up the championship. Of course, last week, for those of you joining us from then, was our media day. So that means that for these BSR drivers, they've had a taster of what the season can offer, but the next season coming along will be just as telling. But qualifying is currently underway at the moment. That half an hour of open session is always going to be difficult. Finding space to put those times in, just as challenging, as many different teams, many different drivers want to prove what they have got. So focus immediately turns to the man who really did put that focus on him, the spotlight on him in the early goings, and that is the 393 of Cedric Nebelshek, who looks for a little bit of room out on track so he can go and set a flying lap, letting the Sight Energy car go by of Ashley Beard. Rensport Online looked pretty promising as Nebelshek looks to get some heat into those tyres. We've seen how runs get quicker and quicker as the tyres get up to temperature. So here is the man who got a win and 2 second place finishes at Brands Hatch on the media day. The person surely keep an eye out on. But if practice was anything to go by, here in the hour and a half they've had, and a little bit more of the couple of session issues that we've seen, then maybe eyes turn to the 66 machine, the V-Racer car of Nicole Foggy, who has really sparked up onto the scene over the last 2 years, really has shown why V-Racer are a force to be reckoned with as champions in the BSRTC Pro Series for the team's championship. So V-Racer coming in with a lot of expectation. Johnny Brandon also there looking to try and get some good times in. As we know, Johnny Brandon always has a plan and very much will try and execute it in every which way that he can. There are, of course, so many drivers who did very well last time out for the media day. One of them is the Boosted machine, the 86. John Roberts picked up a stunning victory by running away from the rest of the field and not really worrying about anyone else behind. He was solid off of the start on the big reverse grid and did not look back in his 86 Boosted machine and very much got himself into a prime position. But there are many other candidates who are looking to put in some great times and show exactly what they have available to them. The fastest time at the moment, a 1:31.8, currently scored by Jamie Ayres as Steve Hefford moves to the top of the timing stands, followed very swiftly then by Adam Barth, and there's Nebelshek's time coming in at 1:30.4, 7/10 clear of anybody else at the top of the field. Do need to talk about Adam Barth for a second. Very quiet driver, some say underrated as well, definitely known quite a bit for his commentary position at Apex Racing TV, and of course has that beautiful dual sponsorship on his vehicle tonight of both Apex Racing and the Evolution Racing team coming out of Australia. So a beautiful looking design livery, looking to try and make some pushes. Chris Danes now in second position overall here in qualifying. Kip Stevens, the man of Team Automech, who never seems to forget, in third position overall for the time being. But that will change because Peter Van Gool has just moved up into third position in his Momo car, making some good progress and up through the field, making a good charge. Peter Van Gool has been around for forever and a day and will look to try and find great pace, a good rocker of a personality, and he will look to try and show that as Jason Plato's 888 moves up to the top, 130.360, perfect for Plato as he pushes on forward. Also, keep an eye out on some times. We saw Wouter van Essen have himself a very solid qualifying when it came to his times at Brands Hatch, but he did struggle over the racing as we just found a new driver to go to the top, and that is Brian Holmes in the Excite Energy car on a 130.192, the 58 machine, having a great qualifying time around this beautiful circuit. Brian Holmes is always up there. He is one of the perennial iRacing men in terms of what iRacing can offer. He is a top 10, if not a top 5. There are not too many people who can say that they are better. Two who can: Frederick Rasmussen and Maximilian Benecke, probably the only two who can really throw anywhere close to what Brian Holmes is capable of doing in terms of a win percentage and being so consistent up at the front of the field. But this is a very, very large field that we're looking at. 45 drivers with the potential to set some good lap times in over the opening stages, and as we have seen, those times are coming down. Track conditions, though, are overcast. It's 18 degrees in the air and 19 degrees on the track. I saw John Roberts have a look. Can someone fix the boiler, please? It's a little bit Baltic in here. And while I don't blame you, this is a very cold track, which means times are going to come down very, very quickly, very early. People look to try and find a little bit of space. Someone struggling with that is Michael Bingham, because he's just had himself a little bit of a tap from Lord Murray, who I think may have been on a flying lap and will not be too best pleased to see that his lap now has to be abandoned as things go wrong, as Nebelshek moves to the top, and by a fair margin as well. 129.4. He's got 7/10 of a second in his back pocket after that, as Ashley Beard moves Excite Energy to second and third, and I did catch Adam Barth going to 5th position on his qualifying time, as did move forward Dan Brown, who went up to 7th position. So these times are going to consistently change up and down the field as John Roberts crosses the line and goes 14th fastest on a 131 flat, but immediately more times coming in. Dominic Savicki moves up into the top 5, as does the 394 Robin Haase, making a great challenge there. The driver from Rensport Online up into position 6, which will be some good news for Rensport. 2 vehicles inside of the top 10 is always a good thing for them, as more times look to try and just find a way through. Van Gool into 10th position on a 130.4, 1 second outside of the quickest times. But you do need to talk about this track here at the WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Up the hills, you come along, and it's so very, very difficult. Of course, by every iteration that Laguna Seca has had, it does look very much like a face if you take the overall profile of the track. And of course, the most difficult part, the corkscrew, very much symbolizes the nose of the Pretty Maiden, whose track is so very difficult to master, especially in cold conditions like these, and vehicles that want to slide on even colder, you could say ice cold tires, which many people will be trying to deal with here today. Adam McNally crosses the line in the 478, moves up into 12th position on a 130.567. Not bad from McNally, as he will be looking to try and gear up to bring those times in. 10 minutes or even more, shall we say, almost hitting 12 minutes gone on the clock so far. So heading towards halfway, your top 10 as follows: Nebelshek, Holmes, Plato, Beard and Hefford, followed by Savicki, Haase, Barth, Woodhouse and Peter Van Gool. Haven't said enough about Andrew Woodhouse at the moment in qualifying. 9th position for Woody Too Goody, and that's some very solid qualifying. Has been very even on pace with Adam Barth in the Apex-Evolution car, and has got himself just 9,000ths to beat his good friend and commentary partner, who I believe they'll be having their own little mini competition as they work together to see, well, I can go faster. No, I can go faster. So both of them will be looking to try and go as fast as they possibly can, as Robin Haase has actually just moved up to third position on a 130 flat, bumped down to fourth because Dan Brown has just moved himself into second in the number 22 car with a 129.7. Flashes the gap. That V-Racer driver down to just 0.3 of a second, and it's now suddenly down to 2 because Brian Holmes has just gone even quicker in his Audi RS3 as his Excite Energy car now moves himself up into the second position. So everybody's times starting to improve. Robert Lundgren finds himself some improvement here as he gets himself up into 12th position, bumped 13th because Kip Stevens now finds himself in 11th overall after a very, very solid lap time there of a 130.413. And instantly, Nicole Foggy starts to move forward. 12th position for him, 130.3 overall, as Johnny Brandon just behind, with the help of Foggy's toe, moves up into 7th place on a 130.185. So just like that, those times, my goodness, they certainly change and ebb and flow as this qualifying session certainly does start to throw into this, and keeping an eye out on times. It is worth noting that the difference between 19th and 9th is just 0.4 of a second. So that mid-pack, if you can find yourself with a mid to low 130, that can make very, very strong progress. You look towards the middle to late of the pack from around position 22 to about position 38. That's just split by 0.9 of a second. So those who are looking to try and find some quicker times, they know they're there, but they have to try and go out there and follow. Ashley Beard has found himself in 4th position on a 29.9, which will be happy as he hits pit road. And Adam McNally's decided, well, we're there together, and they've literally hit pit road there as they almost ran into the tyres. Worth talking about, very difficult pit road here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. We shouldn't expect anyone dive down onto the lane, but if someone does because of damage, it is going to be difficult as we get a replay up on screen on exactly how that one happened. So Ashley Beard looks to try and hit the brakes to go through, and he just catches the dirt there, which is never going to be helpful at all as he looks to try and dive in, and then he decides, you know what, I think it's good if I try and find a reverse gear. It'll be somewhere. I'll let my teammate McNally decide to go through, and then the next stage for me will be, well, get myself down on pit road and maybe just wait and hope that we can go again, as Nicole Foggy has gone fast. It's 129.372. Fantastic, magnifico there from Nicole as he puts himself to the top of the stands. He was the fastest man in practice, did not participate in the media day, and now finds himself quite rightfully at the top. Cedric, you have a challenger to your throne here this evening, and that much you know you have to fight. We have to also remember on that media day, it wasn't the Belshek who was the fastest man overall. That credited over to Josh Thompson, who did not have a good day and is not here in session to come and challenge to try and regain everything at the moment. So some very good battling out there in terms of qualifying times, which once again are coming down more and more. Something that is nice about these sorts of sessions as well here for this in the BSR TCR Sunday Cup is the early morning conditions for the opening race. We move to daytime conditions for the second race, and the final race goes to the evening. So it's always going to be quick times to see early on when it comes to qualifying sessions like this. In sim time, well, it's shade for 8 o'clock in the morning here at Laguna Seca. So these drivers are getting an early start and finding out that this track is only going to heat up more and more as the racing action goes on. And that, of course, comes down to the iRacing dynamic track as well. Of course, this track evolves, as does the tyres and the different areas that come around it. So as the track heats up, you look to find and search for grip, and it takes 2-3 laps to get yourself up into full pace. And I think a lot of these drivers know that full pace is going to be a massive, massive key to the racing that we've got going on at the moment. Times have stagnated slightly at the moment. We haven't too many quicker times come in just as of yet. Someone who has improved is Jim Flanagan in the 18. This is a little bit more down the order as his Immortal car has moved up to 26th position. That's the outside of the 13th row. So that's a good job. Currently shares that with Cesare Rizzo in the number 47, who has had a pretty decent practice by his standards, he was telling me before action started. So he'll be happy with where his Momo car is, but he would like a top 20 potentially coming out of qualifying at this stage. So half distance in qualifying already, score complete, and this is where the track sort of bottoms out a little bit. It becomes tougher to find those laps because that track will have rubbered in a lot more, and it's almost a case of you hit a peak and then you start falling off it ever so slightly. So those times come in, and those who have come in to get fresh tires, it does take those couple of laps to get back up to temperature to find those wonderful quick lap times which we have seen so often when it comes to this sort of track. What about the 898 of Richard Haynes? Looked very, very solid in race 2 and actually race 1 as well on the media day, but is down the order in qualifying, struggling here today at WeatherTech Raceway, down in 27th position overall for the 898, which is not part of the script, I don't think, for Haynes, but Haynes has got to get up to the likes of Chris Daines, maybe in 18th position, the number 900 on a 130.654 at the moment. That's 1.3 seconds off of pole position, which is not too bad considering just how difficult it is to find a lap. And talking of off-track incident points just for a moment, very easy to run wide and push a little bit too hard on some of these laps here at WeatherTech Raceway, mainly because this track has got very inviting corners to go out there and push. So I think a lot of drivers who have a lot of experience to track one of the free tracks, one of the rookie tracks that you find on the service, very easily things can start going awry when you take advantage of a track that you know all too well, which all of these drivers will know all too well out on track. So some drivers have been making improvements. One is the 13 machine. Adam Hedgecock moves up to 11th position overall on a 30.257, 4,000 clear of Steve Hefford just behind, as Kip Stevens is now the gatekeeper to the top 10 on a 130.218. She'll be very happy with his Automech vehicle to get to that stage. But now it's the final 10 minutes, and this is the big push, the big challenge that these drivers are going to have. They understand that they now have not long at all to get those tyres up to temperature to find those magical lap times, and every lap time becomes crucial. Who do you draft behind? Which partner do I find myself to draft behind? As Richard Haynes goes very bold and brave down the inside and completely, I think, ruins the lap for Dale Benison in the 37. He's down in 44th on a 33.9, which is not quite the quickest in the world, but he'll be looking to find improvements maybe if lap times do not go astray from him. So drivers still pushing for those lap times. Just under 10 minutes now left to go, as there are still going to be pushes. Adam Bath is one of them, up to 9th overall on a 130.151. He'll be very pleased with that lap time as he jumps the likes of Vicky, Stevens and Hedgecock and Hedford all up in those positions, and quite a few of them you would say mainstay regulars of BSR Racing. We have said it's a brand new vehicle. That means that the form book can very much change. Who's quick, who's slow is always very, very difficult. Apex pride themselves on being right near the pointy end of any field that they race in, and Adam Bath, no exception there in the 9th position overall. The top 20 currently is being guarded by Jamie Ayres in the number 46 on a 130.6. We were talking about how a 130.6 earlier on was good enough to be inside of the top 13. Now it's only good enough for 20th position. Such has been the improvements. So many drivers up and down your field. Your top 10, Foggy, Nebelshek, Holmes, Brown, Haase, and then Beard, Plato, Brandon, Bath, and Savicki. That is how the top 10 currently looks, but of course, as we all know, everyone's just waiting for those final few laps to come in and make some progress. The 410 of Craig Harris is trying to make his own progress in the Simtech car. Can he find a way over the start-finish line to get a good lap time together. It's a 31.5, and he was a 32.5 last time by. So if things are to go by, and he's finding a second as these tyres get up to temperature, a 1:30.5 could be good enough to go as high as 16th position and leapfrog the likes of Robert Lundgren, who holds that bastion at the moment. So there is time to try and make those moves, as I've kept an eye on drivers who are out on track and trying to set some lap times. Nicole Foggy is happy to sit in pit road for the moment and just observe as Nebelshek does a 29.7. That's not quite there. And in terms of who's trying to come out on pit road to help him, it's Robin Haase, but he's going to catch the back of the train, which has Cesare Rizzo there for company, and he will be following in the train track, so to speak, of Nebelshek just in front, and he'll be using that to his advantage just to try and work out, well, what lines is he taking, how quick is he going, and maybe can I find a bit of improvements as you go on forward. So Niels Carstensen, for example, 395 to go from one Rennsport Online vehicle over to another. He's trying to make progress as Paul Burgess moves up to 21st position in the number 28. Can Carstensen find some time? Not on this lap, so he'll go try and search for it here on next lap coming, but just 6 and a bit minutes remain here in qualifying. The final few stretches now. This is where you start getting those good laps together. Andy Maxwell will not be getting a good lap together as he went straight on at the let's get some words out, Jake, and actually get your brain in gear at the corkscrew. So Andy Maxwell will definitely abandon ship, and as will Nebelshek, who takes a tap for his troubles as well, as he was going through and maybe impeded slightly as he headed through that section, got all up into the gravel and moved across and got the turn in there on Maxwell. So Maxwell may actually have a right, as both of them actually weren't on laps, to say, well, hang on, that's not foul play. That's a bit of foul play here. Both drivers here are not on laps, but other drivers are and could have been caught up and involved. As I just see two vehicles go straight on at turn 5, sorry. That's Daniel James and Craig Harris, who both go off together in sympathy. So both of them deciding that going sideways may be the best way forward. Newsflash, it's not the quickest way in the world, but still, I think a lot of drivers want to just find a bit more, and they are going to stretch the limits and maybe push over them to find where those limits are out on track. So, not quite ideal for them, but again, times not coming down, not changing just yet, not quite getting anywhere nearer at the moment. So everyone is looking and thinking, well, what do I have next? And well, do you feel comfortable with the time that you have? Someone who doesn't is Nicole Foggy. He's got a 10th and almost a half in terms of his gap to pole position, but the big difference maker for him is the fact that a 10th and a half can so easily go away, and he's also going to be playing that role for the 5 machine, Johnny Brandon, try and get him up through the order. He's currently on a 30 flat, so that time could improve as he only needs a few thousand to leapfrog both Savicki and Plato out on track, both of them on very low 130 flats. In fact, you can't get much lower than that at all at this stage. I push for Dan Brown over the line, currently looking to improve on a 29.7, currently scored 4th position. That lap won't count, so he'll try and make sure that this lap works. But the big issue is Nebelshek's got a very good partner in front who's only a quarter of a second behind in terms of times. A bit of draft will be very, very useful for the 393 as he will make that push. The 394 is just behind on the road. Robin Haase has shown some very good pace. 29.8 is good enough for 5th position, but he is towing around Jason Plato in the 888 car, who's scored in 7th position. So everyone's trying to find a dance partner, and this track position becomes very vital with only 4 minutes to go in terms of qualifying action. They are allowed, of course, to complete their lap because of the fact they are in open qualification conditions. So can those times get into improvement range? They now move towards the final 3.5 minutes worth of time finding. There's a bit of checkup around the final corners, as I think a lot of drivers want to make sure that they are going on to set some flying laps. And if you are going to set some laps around a 130 track, you've got to make sure that you can get at least 2 laps in, maybe a third, so drivers may already be on their final stint at the moment. Keep an eye on the 55 machine of Kip Stevens, trying to improve and get some time going forward. In 12th position, he's an elephant that never forgets, and he always seems to have a nice little jab at a driver here and there, and very much you have to have thick skin to race and be around Kip Stevens. That much you can definitely say in terms of his character, the enigmatic Kip Stevens, some may say, as he rounds the final corner, turn 11 at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca, making that push up the hill towards the line, and does a 31.5, so he's gearing up for this one, and he's got a couple laps which he can try and gain some improvements. What about Brian Holmes in 3rd position? He's not out on track, so he will not be able to go quicker, and he'll have to get out P, D, and Q if he wants to try and get those lap times in and improving out on track. A little further down the field, Cody Erdman is down in 44th on a 33 flat, so he's the penultimate to last driver who will start on the outside of the 22nd row at the moment, as he does not improve on his lap time, so he'll be looking for a little bit more, as everyone up and down this massive field looks to try and find a few improvements here and there, and it may just have to be very late that those times come in, as I think quite a few drivers are looking to find that little bit of an edge. Adam Hedgecock he's now up into 10th place as he has moved up a few positions. Carstensen now moves to 15th with a 1:30.3, so there is time to be found, time to be had. Johnny Brandon didn't get it. Nicole Foggy hasn't got it, but they've got only a minute and a half now, so anyone that is not out on track now will now forever have to relinquish that I cannot go any quicker on this track state. That includes Cedric Nebelshek in 2nd position. He will not go any further or any quicker than he can at the moment. Andrew Woodhouse looking to push over to the line. He does a 32.1. He's gearing up as Cesare Rizzo finds a worldie of a time by his standards. He moves up to 12th place, 1:30.189. That's the outside of the 6th row, which he will be very pleased at the way that he has been able to bring that up and has been able to get that one working in completion. But there are still other drivers here. You got the Brandon and Foggy train, which will be a case of just trying to get Johnny Brandon's time up instead of Nicole Foggy. Foggy, I think, could be safe. He's got 0.3 of a second there or thereabouts to Brian Holmes, who he himself is not out on track. Dan Brown not out on track. Robin Haase is, though, so he'll be the first quickest guys who can maybe make that challenge. 15 seconds remaining on the clock. You've got to get over the line, and it will be a race to see who will be the last person over the start-finish line. Now just 7 seconds remaining. John Roberts has got to make a big push, as does Steve Hefford, to try and get over the line, but they are going to be out of time. Someone who did just make it over the line, that's Chris Daines. He'll be the last driver over the line. John Roberts, only good enough at the moment for 31st. His time did not improve. Steve Hefford, you're a little bit too late. Dominic Savicki did not improve on his time as he made his push over to the start-finish line. Kip Stevens currently scored in 13th position, now looking to make that drive up the hill once again. Needs to find a couple hundredths to move past his good time friend Cesare Rizzo. Cross the line, 29.9, he finds it. He moves himself to the 4th row with a fantastic time right at the death. James Leggett goes across the line on a 31.2, good enough to move up to 36th position. Overall, Lorne Murray, another Automet car, 1:30.9, 29th overall for him at the moment. But there aren't too many drivers who maybe can go out and find a bit of improvements. Adam Barth can't, he's off the track. Ashley Beard may just be the one to keep focus on here. He's currently scored in 6th position, heading himself around the rainy curve and now in towards turn 10. Out on track, this beautiful 90-degree right-hander as he now makes away to 11. He does have a lap. He doesn't decide to send it down onto pit road, but he slightly misses the apex there, heading through the final corner as he makes that push over to the line. What can the Excite Energy car find? Ashley Beard, 1:30.1. It's not good enough. He's 2/10 short, and 2/10 shy is not going to be good enough. Everyone across the line, this is how the first grid will stack. So it will be Nicole Foggy out on pole position for V-Racer, and he'll have the Rennsport Online car, Cedric Nebelshek alongside him on the front row. Brian Holmes for Excite Energy. Start with Dan Brown in the 4th position. Robin Haase going from 5th with Ashley Beard in 6th. Following that is Kip Stevens and Jason Plato, with Dominic Savicki and Johnny Brandon 9th and 10th position. 11th then, row 6, two Adams, Adam Hedgecock and Adam Bath. There together as Cesare Rizzo and Adam McNally are 13th and 14th overall. 15th will go to Steve Hefford and Andrew Woodhouse. Starts this one from 16th with row 9 consisting of Niels Carstensen and Peter Van Gool. Wouter van Essen will start this one from the 19th place with Robert Lundgren in 20th. Chris Danes on the outside of the top 20. 22nd in the end would go to Joe Mitchell. And you look further down the grid, the likes of Jamie Ayres 23rd, Daniel James go from 26th position, Lorne Murray 29th with Lee Deemer just ahead. John Roberts, keep an eye on him, he started 31st position. James Leggett back in 37th, likes of Mikey Key back in 40th, Carl Jacquelet there in 42nd, and finishing off the rows will be Dale Benison all the way back in 45th position overall. So 15 minutes then on the clock, and of course they've got themselves 15 minutes to make sure that this lap is the best. They've got 2 minutes though, if they want to get themselves though on the grid. But, and this is a big but, this turn 1 is notorious for seeing instant here and there. It's a fast left-hand kink of turn 1 into the Andretti hairpin of turn number 2. So you've got to be careful on the brakes, and on cold tyres, on the brakes, instant sometimes has a tendency to occur. And I think every driver knows they do not want that to be the case. So how late grid up? Of course, those tyre warmers are going to be so crucial. You get on the grid, the longer you sit on that grid, the more those tyres are going to cool off. So every driver now waiting. The leader has 30 seconds, that being Nicole Foggy, but we've seen how quick Brian Humbs can be. Nebelshek was an absolute wonder on the media day. You got the likes of Robin Haase, who's looking very solid. Ashley Beard never counts out Kip Stevens. You got the likes of Johnny Brandon there in 10th position. He always seems to have a plan. There's the green light, and let's get ourselves then underway for action. The Nebelshek doing okay, but he loses second position immediately to Holmes. A shocking start as they go 4 wide around. That's Dan Brown, who's really struggled as they get on the brakes into the Andretti hairpin at turn 2, and it seems clean. No, it doesn't. We got one in the background there going off. I haven't quite caught who that was. That one in the end not brilliant. Another vehicle going off on the exit there of turn 2. So that's 2 vehicles already running themselves into issues. I think Adam Bath might have been caught up in all of the dramas potentially, but at the front, Nicole Foggy happy with where he is. Holmes in second. The Nebelshek trying to fight back now in 3rd place as he gets on the brakes up into turn 5, out on track, just enough room. Oh, he forces him off. There is now Haase. He's going to move 2 Rennsport cars inside of the top 3. Brian Holmes will not be happy. He was left without room as the 2 came together. It's up the hill. There's battling a little further down in the pack as Adam Bath is okay. He's now battling it out with Steve Hefford around the outside. So it was someone else who ended up getting caught up in lap 1 shenanigans as they hit the corkscrew for the very first time. There is some side-by-side a little bit further in front as Adam Hedgecock tries to make his way through on Dominic Savicki, but Savicki's going to come back. Bit of contact there between the 2, and Hedgecock's going to have to abandon ship and lose a couple of positions. Brandon's going to get one. Brown's going to get the second as well as they head on through. But again, Johnny Brandon trying to make moves. Savicki on the inside is going to have to be careful here as they get on the brakes around that final corner. They both leave each other a lot of room. Savicki almost too much, pinching himself too hard onto that inside line. And just like that, it is position gain for one Johnny Brandon, and maybe Daniel Brown might want to try and get in this battle going on out on track for 6th, 7th and 8th place. Savicki's going to go in deep, and can he hold it and pull it back up again? Well, they're going to remain 2 wide as they head to turn 3. Out on track, on the brakes they go into the right-hander at just 100 kilometers an hour as they get on the pad. Oh, get forced with no room. Savicki has the door firmly slammed shut, and Dan Brown says, mine, thank you, and he gets the position. Foggy leads this one, the gap 1.4 seconds over Cedric Nebelshek. Haase there in 3rd and sliding and going off the track, and Holmes will get one and Stevens will as well. Kip Stevens has been mightily patient here as he sits behind Brian Holmes thinking maybe there's a podium for the offing for me as he thinks about how he gets through. Haase's dropped back almost to Dan Brown, and Brown has to lift out of it, which allows Savicki the chance try and make this move and try and find a way through. So Vicky going to the inside here just before the corkscrew. He brakes a little bit earlier than Brown, who's a lot more confident on the brakes, but they come together through the corkscrew, and Brown spins it down the 7 stories, and just like that, he will lose a whole heap of time as he hits reverse and tries to go through. One vehicle spins in sympathy in front of him. It was one of the Momo cars as Lord Murray gets into a huge accident there. 4, 5, 6, 7, the big one happening here, and more issues as Rizzo tries to join on circuit. It's a cluster truck of accidents here as they go through, and might as well play cluster truck and try and jump all over all of the vehicles that are here and there. It's still going on all the way down at turn 11 as Craig Harris has been caught out. A massive crash then here in the opening race. That was not part of plan. Replay up on screen surely of how all of this one is going to have played out. It was a massive crash overall as we caught it. It was heading through the corkscrew and a bit further, and there you can see probably a good 15-20 cars getting involved, and that's an unsighted corner as well. Was never ever going to be fun. So this is how everything ends up then as they go up the hill on the brakes in through the corkscrew. There was a spin there in a bit of sympathy as that's one of the Momo cars trying to stay out of trouble. There was more drama on the inside. That was Rizzo getting caught up coming out of the corkscrew there with, I believe, Chris Harris, and then from there a poor rejoin, everyone getting caught 6, 7 across the track, and effectively a congested track, which you would say would cause safety cars in real world racing, but it hasn't really affected those at the front of the field. So it's all change in the mid-pack. It has allowed Niels Carstensen to move up into 8th position. Talk about drivers who have gained. John Roberts up 15 through all of that melee. Drivers like Jamie Ayres, Chris Daines, all making big progress then on these opening laps as they finally get the tyres up to temperature once again. So now this becomes a challenge of how do you close down gaps out on the road. The big battle is behind Adam Barth at the moment. Jamie Ayres, Chris Daines there, as I stutter for a second, there for the final spot inside of the top 10, 10th, 11th and 12th position as they push into the Andretti hairpin deep on the brakes and actually slowing it up quite nicely there. Ayres has some good pace here, and Adam Barth a lot smoother and consistent on the exit. Will now know to attack here as he looks to try and push a way through on Adam Hedgecock, who struggled there through that section. Maybe a slow down penalty, so Barth thinking about the inside line, and Ayres trying to go to the outside. Now, where do you go if you're Chris Daines in the Simtech car? Thought about going hard to the inside. He's run out of road for that one. Adam Barth, big lunge down the inside. Room given by the Boosted car there on the outside as Daines still trying to find a way past Ayres, and Ayres is going to completely hold that one overall on the brakes up into 6th. Very difficult. Everyone has to check up a little bit there as Adam Barth could not get a way through, and that's allowed the likes of Peter Van Gool onto the back of the train. And then the good friend of Adam Barth, Andrew Woodhouse, now in this 6-car scrap going on for one spot inside of the top 10. Brian Holmes struggles though with a slow down penalty, I do believe it is, and he will drop behind Niels Carsten. No, he went off. He made an unforced error coming into the corkscrew, and he's so lucky he's not caught any wall or anything as he gets back going, and he'll be frustrated at the way he's made that mistake. He rarely does those. So now Kip Stevens finds himself up on the podium here in race 1. The gap at the front, 1.1 seconds only for Nicole Foggy. Nebelshek is trying to chase the gap down as they battle it out. Still is going to be battling though, as there is too wide, too deep. Barth trying to find a way through. Then on Hedgecock, he's trying to get a way through, not quite there. But Adam Barth, he's got a nose to that inside as he tries to get a way around Chris Daines, who's made some good progress through, and now they're losing Hedgecock here. Ayres is going to push Adam Barth to say, come on, we got to go make some moves and gain some positions. Again, Adam Barth very strong on the defense now as it's all doors man to try and gun. Daines finds an inside line. They go 3 wide almost through that section. Woodhouse takes a tap or two and he can't save it and runs out of talent as he hits the wall. Andrew Woodhouse will not be happy that he's hit that wall. He hits a big accident there, and for love nor money he tried every which way to save it, but ultimately he could not come the end. Still battling, though, as Ayers tries to get up the hill and make the move at the corkscrew. He can't, so he goes through. Replay on screen then on Woodhouse's incident. So you'll see they're coming to turn 5. Andrew Woodhouse is there, the 4th car, sees them go 3 wide, and he has to check up. He gets a tap there in the car in front. That sends him corkscrewed, and then he gets a little tap from behind. He's trying to save it, but of course, those rear tyres, always very difficult once you start losing them. Just like that, position gone. Brian Holmes, though, trying to get back on the offensive here. Try and find a way past Niels Carstensen in this battle for 7th position overall. And Carstensen might not have much to fight with here, as they now find themselves with about 5 minutes left to go on the clock in the next couple of minutes or so. So half distance already scored complete in this race. Carstensen lose out to Brian Holmes, as that is position gained. Plato, though, a lap down, will start losing quite a bit more time, but the leading two are within a second of each other. So Nebelshek just clawing another 2/10 that last time by, and there's a bit of traffic up the hill in the form of Carl Jacquelet in the year 1 car, so he will have to move out of the way, and does so nicely. But I think Foggy is just able to extend that gap ever so slightly out on track, which he will be quite comfortable in terms of doing so. Kip Stevens, though, not out of the woods in the battle for the final spot on the podium. Johnny Brandon took 2/10 out last time by, and Johnny Brandon is bringing along with him Robin Haase, who is just behind the lap traffic of Plato, who feels he is just as quick as these sorts of drivers as they make their way towards turn 10 here. This long right-hander, this 90-degree right before turn 11, the 120-degree left to end the lap overall. On the brakes they go into that left-hander. No dice at the moment yet for the V Racer car, who wants 2 on the podium. Johnny Brandon wanting to make that push, but the gap at the front extends back to 1.2 seconds. Nebelshek starting to struggle a little bit. Is there a look, though, for third into turn number 1? No, sir, as they go through. No chance just yet, but Johnny Brandon is scheming and conniving, try and make sure that he's got a way that he makes a move. Battle on 15th place, though. John Roberts under pressure as Dan Brown tries to make his big recovery up through the field. He gets up on the brakes into that left-hander, and he's got that move very comfortably sorted, as behind him Van Essen will want to try and get through. Wouter Van Essen will try everything to try and get through. He made a lot of friends in the opening race of the evening, but for the time being, there's a little bit of calm in this field after the big incident that they've had. Drivers now willing to be patient and to wait for opportunities to come to them, as Johnny Brandon still stalks the Automech prey just in front. On the brakes they go into the corkscrew, and now Robin Haase is starting to think, well, if they're not going to catch, I might just try and get aggressive and get 2 of my team's vehicles inside of the top 3. A great run coming out to that rainy curve there for Johnny Brandon, but he's not able to usurp it through 10. Big defense for 11. Hit the gravel there. Slightly did Kip Stevens. He said left the door open now, and Haase's going to try and steal one here down the inside. Maybe it's 2 for your mistakes as you go through, but Stevens will have to fight this all the way to turn number 1 as Johnny Brandon is clear, but Robin Haase needs to make the move now or he'll never see it again. The tyres expected to drop off around lap 8, lap 9. This is the point as he goes through. Bit of attack Stevens as he goes through. Robin Haase up into 4th position, and be pleased with the way that he made that move. It was a traditional touring car move. Give you a little bump on the way by. Thank you very much. I'll take my receipt and cash it at this point in time. So still some great scraps then as they go through. Still got that scrap going on for 10th place. Adam Barth has managed to get a little bit of a gap over Chris Daines, but it's not much at all. That gap is half a second at the moment and could very easily change if things start to go awry for Adam Barth. He's seen his teammate Andrew Woodhouse come afoul here at this corner, turn 5, as they now move up the hill towards turn number 6. But Robin Haase now starting to get aggressive here, starting to think about a podium position as they go on the brakes into the corkscrew once again, and again not quite able to find it, but it's through this section where Johnny Brandon looks so secure in that V-Racer setup. But this Audi RS3 is still got the bite and the power to try and really scrap it out together as they go towards this next left-hander. The final corner on circuit. Is that a lunge down the inside? No, it's not quite there. There was an intention to do so, but look just behind, because Brian Holmes, a man on a mission, has caught Dominic Savicki in the battle for 6th place overall. So he's not that far out of the equation as this scrap continues to brood and boil. The front currently are 12 seconds clear of the rest of the field. Such have been these two dominances of Foggy and the Belshek. It seems that these two may just be your contenders for the championship overall as they go into turn 5. That gap back to 1.2 seconds as they fight it out, but time of the essence, only a handful of laps left remains. Johnny Brandon goes defensive then here against Robin Haase, who moves to the outside to try and get it to work. Up and under, potentially not quite there. Not going to find it just like that. Savicki under pressure as well behind as Brian Holmes wants to try and get himself a move up into 6th place, but can he find the one clue that solves the case? But at the moment, it seems it's not quite going to be for that here. Haase very deep on the brakes, as is also Johnny Brandon, but Brandon goes too deep. He may have a slowdown penalty to cop from that one, as he now has to lift off of the power forces around the outside. The Rennsport Online car, which moves up now into 3rd place. Robin Haase joins the Belshek on the podium for the time being. Can Stevens capitalise now on the outside here for the final corner? Slowdown served as they go on the brakes. Savicki has caught his gap. White flag though for Nicole Foggy. His gap is 1.3 seconds. He has traffic though, 2 bits of traffic. David Ayers and Dale Beniston are both the traffic that he will have to deal with on this final lap. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, certainly not over and done with. You've got to make moves now. You've got to hope that the reverse grid is going to come into favour as Savicki almost gets attacked from Holmes there on the outside, who cannot find a way through. Adam Hedgecock has found Niels Carstensen in the battle 8th and 9th out on track as well. They're going at it and they're going to want to see some position changing here on the final lap. No changes through turn 4 and no changes to turn 5 as well as they go through. Nicole Foggy is clear at the moment at the front of the field. He has been unchallenged in this opening race. A slow start from the Belshek has not been the way that he has wanted it. Up through 6 maybe for these drivers, fighting 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, but still not quite there. Still not quite finding it, but Brian Holmes, this is your final chance. Surely it is. Here at the corkscrew, he's got to try and get it going as he goes around the outside, but Nicole Foggy will make his way to the final corner and he will pick up the victory, not barring any mistakes. V-Racer start the Sunday Cup the way they intend to go on. Nicole Foggy wins race 1 at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca. It will be Belshek in 2nd position, and Robin Haase will come for 3rd. The battle's still going on for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Big dive from Savicki down the inside, and let's drag race here. Draft all the way is going to come along for Brian Holmes, and the line only comes now, and Brian Holmes has stolen one there at the end by 0.05 of a second. Savicki had no help from Kip Stevens. Try and get himself over the line. Some fantastic racing as the final few drivers make their pushes over to the line. Some good scrapping towards the end. McNally trying to deal with Paul Burgess here in the battle for 20th position. He's not going to be close enough. Anthony Jacobson has to be careful here because here's Dan James trying to find himself one more position to move up. And at the moment, no dice as they finish just ahead of Mikey Key out on track as Cody Erdman. He's going to try and get one late here on Steve Hansford. Not quite able to get what he wanted out of that one. But confirmation then of result is as follows. Nicole Foggy picks up the win by 1.6 seconds over Cedric Nebelshek, and Robin Haase finishing in 3rd, meaning it's 2 on the podium for Rennsport Online. Johnny Brandon makes it a 1-4 in the end for V-Racer, with Kip Stevens finishing 5th for Automech. It's 6th for Brian Holmes after a spin, actually at the corkscrew, with Dominic Savicki in 7th and Niels Carstensen in 8th place. Adam Hedgecock and Adam Barth, they started next to each other. They finished next to each other, 9th and 10th position. Chris Daines 11th with Peter Van Gool in 12th. Joe Mitchell made good progress up through the field. That's 13th for him for the opening round. Jamie Ayres in 14th with Daniel Brown falling back to 15th. John Roberts 16th. Wouter van Essen 17th with Andrew Woodhouse having a big spin. Turn 6, that dropped him back to 18th place. Lord Murray 19th. Paul Burgess rounding out the top 20. Some other notable mentions is Ashley Beard back to 22nd. He dropped a good 16 places in that race. Some good progress from Mikey Key. He gained 15 overall. James Leggett gaining 11 of his own. 10 positions for Andy Maxwell. Some drivers quite a little bit further down the field included Steve Hefford and Cesare Rizzo, who both got caught up in that accident earlier on, the big one, and they are 37th and 38th. Some lap down and non-finishers include Dale Bennison, Carl Jacquelet, Charles Kellyman, David Ayers, Jason Plato, and Robert Lundgren. Carl Hardy failing to make the start overall. Well, that's race 1 put itself in the books, but races 2 and 3 have itself a reverse grid feature. We're going to move on over now, so to speak, to see exactly how this grid is stack up for this second race of the evening. So we're going to move over right now to a spinny wheel. We're going to spin that wheel, and we are going to see just who finds himself in which position. It's full and it's -2 is what we are hearing. So full -2 is the overall that we see. So that's going to be the case that we see on that spin. And so everyone, apart from 2 people, are going to get caught in that reverse grid. We're going to step aside for a moment here with 4EVER Sim Racing. We'll be back with races 2 and 3 after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the British Sim Racers TCR Sunday Cup. This is the opening rounds of the championship, rounds 1, 2, and 3 from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca. We've hit peak daytime here at wonderful California track, and my goodness, has the track temperature risen up. It's now 41 degrees on the track, so it's always going to be a big challenge for everyone to get this one working for them. Two 15-minute races. We've seen the first one. This is going to be the second one that's going to be going on today. And of course, the big 30-minute that comes up. Finish racing action. It's Jake Sperry here in the commentary box with Cisco Scaramuza out on the cameras for this overall. A massive thanks, of course, go to Forcex Design, who have been very, very crucial in terms of the graphics that we have available to us, as well as the work that has been done by Violet, the music you have heard over the course of this broadcast so far. Some brilliant music that she is able to produce, and make sure that you follow all of her stuff on Bandcamp and on Spotify. But let's focus now on race 2, because it's big reverse grid. It's always going to be difficult when you get a reverse grid like this. You know that every which way that you start looking is going to be difficult for drivers to now navigate their way through the field. And if you thought that race 1 on a big wreck was something that you weren't really quite expecting, this is definitely going to be a lot more volatile and a lot more likely to happen if you find yourself in this second race. A massive thanks to everyone who is here following us here on YouTube here. Make sure that you like and subscribe for more content. Of course, a big like spike as well does wonders for us here through this live stream. It means that more people have an opportunity to go out and see some of the stuff that's done thanks to the YouTube algorithm. So make sure that you give that a very nice little like as things go and progress. But now the question becomes, after this opening round, how good are you at navigating through the field? Because we've seen two drivers stand head and shoulders above the field, those being Nicole Foggy and Cedric Nebelshek. I think these two might be fighting for this Sunday Cup all season long. But the big difference maker is going to be who can navigate through a field, because we have seen already just how good on the media day that Nebelshek was at navigate through the pack. Had 2 second-place finishes in races 2 and 3. He's got to do something pretty similar. And Nicole Foggy has got to get past first Nebelshek and then everybody else, which is going to be an even more difficult challenge as the racing goes on. We've seen how starts have been very much hit and miss for certain drivers. Some drivers got a great start, others didn't. And actually something that we didn't say is that those first grid stalls are going to be a lot tougher on the starts than those who are maybe rounding the final corner or are on that straight and don't have to deal with that upward trajectory on the start. You don't have necessarily a clutch in these vehicles, so you have to make sure that you're leaving it in neutral and holding the brakes slightly as you look to try and make that big push up the hill. It's a very tough car to start. If you do not get it right, you're going one position, and that position always going to be backwards, as we find ourselves just 2 minutes away from racing action getting itself going here at WeatherTech Raceway. A good chance, I think, is going to be needed for drivers to get right, and actually pit road, something that could go very easily wrong, as Niels Carstensen has just proven in the 395 Rennsport online vehicle. So make sure that every inch of the track you are making sure you're getting this one absolutely solid. We've seen just how difficult that corkscrew, that dreaded corkscrew, can be if you even slightly go offline. You can't just lift off the throttle and hope that things are going to gather back. It very easily wants to spin in these vehicles, and these Audi RS3s know better than anyone that spinning is definitely going to be part of a process, as we saw at the turn number 9. Massive incident to open out the opening racing that we have got. Some great drives though in that opening race. Kip Stevens really stood out as someone who really applied the pressure well and got mistakes, got rewards by being consistent. You had the likes of Robin Haase making great moves through the field. Johnny Brandon looked fantastic through what he was capable of doing. As we all know, Johnny Brandon always has a plan, and he definitely executed that one nicely, getting up into the 4th position. But this reverse grid is going to potentially bring up a different winner. We saw how on the media day it was the gentleman John Roberts who had pole position and pulled away. Never quite as simple as that in racing sometimes, and this may just be one of those cases where we see the same. A couple of drivers, Steve Hefford and Cesare Rizzo, might be drivers to look out for, who had an appalling race one, definitely showed a lot of pace, but are in better grid positions for this second race. Same could be said for the likes of Ashley Beard, who could easily make progress through the field. So those sorts of drivers may find themselves in a great place to go out there to get this reverse grid in favour and maybe put themselves in a good place for that second reverse grid and that third challenge that goes along overall. So that is going to be something to keep an eye out on, as this second race will now get itself to the gridding up process in the next 15 seconds or so. The fastest man in terms of practice in these very hot conditions, which is going to force a setup change for a lot of drivers, is Dan Brown on a 1:32 flat, 4/10 clear of anyone else. Daniel James was the next closest in terms of lap time. Everything then done, and this is how the grid shall stack. It will be Cesare Rizzo on the pole position with Steve Hefford alongside. You've got to be on the leading lap if you are part of the reverse grid. Lee Deemer starts from third with Richard Haynes in fourth, Cody Erdman fifth, and Steve Hansford sixth. Sean Gardner looks impressive in seventh with Adrian Hendy in eighth. Jim Flanagan and Andy Maxwell round out the top 10. Craig Harris, James Leggett on row 6, row 7, Mikey Key and Daniel James. Anthony Jacobson and Ashley Beard go from row 8. Row 9 sees Adam McNally and Paul Burgess, Lorne Murray and Andrew Woodhouse on row number 10. Looking further down, Dan Brown from 23rd, John Roberts from 22nd, Van Gool starts this one from 26th, Adam Barth going from 28th, and the likes of, say, Kip Stevens 33rd, Robin Haas 35th, Nicole Foggy starts this one hard for 27th as the gridding process starts, and Craig Harris has jumped the start already. He'll have to come in for a drive-through penalty. He forgot that he couldn't go. They go eventually. Cesare Rizzo with a great start, but even better from fourth position, Richard Haynes has breezed on by everyone. He takes the lead through turn 1 in towards turn 2. That was a worldie of a start as they hit the brakes going in. How good are you on cold tyres? Everyone just about managing to get themselves through in the early stages. No real dramas going on then in the middle of the pack as they sit 4 wide in that background, trying to make sure that they can get themselves through. But what a start coming in from Richard Haynes in the 898, who leads this one. Now there's a battle of two Momos, as now Steve Hefford goes down the inside. Rizzo runs wide. He'll lose the position to Lee Deemer as well in the Excite Energy car. Here's the BSR car. Sean Gardner going to make her way through, and thank you very much. That is comfortable there for the BSR machine. Moving through, battle for 6th position. Cody Erdman now the cork in the bottle as Flanagan goes at it. Dan James there, Leggett, Maxwell, Beard and McNally trying to work together to pull themselves up through the field at turn number 6. But it is Hefford and Haynes who are going to be the two maybe scrapping this one out. Slow off the exits, Cody Erdman. Oh, which way do you go, Excite Energy? They're going to go Ricardo Zonta, starting with Hackman and Schumacher, and that is Adam McNally taking advantage and saying, I'm going to commit to that outside. And there's the contact. Erdman gets a tap there on Ashley Beard. He's able to save it as Mikey Key tries to go around the outside, along with Ayres and Andrew Woodhouse trying to get in on the action. But the opening start, pretty nice then. Look a little bit further down the order. Where are the main contenders from that race one? Still trying to make their way through the field. Robin Haase trying to gain position. Velshek, no, Carstensen runs wide a little bit as they try and go through. As I think a few of the V-Race cars, big trouble. That's one of the Apex cars, I think, that's just run into an issue. That's Bath, and I think there's a couple others caught their hands when stuck on pit road. Jack Alette got caught in that one, as did Anthony Jacobson in that big crash at the end of the opening lap. So not part of the script as they continue on. As I just caught an eye on the Velshek here, trying to battle through against Andrew Woodhouse, and now Mikey Keys got past Nicole Foggy, but Woodhouse, big lunge down the inside as they went 3 wide through that next section. Some great battling going on in the middle of the pack at the moment, but it is that front of the field that has just changed, because Steve Hefford now takes the lead away from Richard Haynes. He did so at turn 2. He got himself down the inside with a great run, and now Steve Hefford leads this one. Haynes in second, Deemer third, Rizzo fourth, Gardner locks out the top 5. Just for the time being, Ashley Beard is through on Cody Erdman, and now Jamie Ayres is going to find a way down the inside, coming out of 6 with no run at all there, and very easily picking up that position. But Big battle going on. Jim Flanagan under pressure. Here comes Dan James down the inside at turn 9, but he's going to run out of road in the second part of turn 9. So there's going to be no chance of trying to make that one happen as they make their way to turn 10. Missed apex there from Flanagan. Thank you very much, Lee, says a certain Daniel James on the outside, trying to make the move work, but he has nothing. And Excite Energy car in the background. Big slide and spin, and Ashley Beard ends up going like the rallycross counterpart of the Excite team there going forward, and he drops a whole host of positions. He's now behind Nicole Foggy here, who is up into 18th place, into 15th place now, with Nebelshek up into 13th overall, and running wide is Flanagan, struggling all of a sudden. He gets a big bit of contact there with Dan James. Adam McNally gets past both of them as the battle for the lead heats up now, as Richard Haynes thinks about maybe I can get back down the inside here and make a move here on lap 3 as the tyres are up to temperature. Has to look long way around if he wants to make this one work on Steve Hefford, and Hefford leaves in the room, but he's much better on that inside. He holds off the position just for the time being. Leggett under pressure now. Here's Jamie Ayres down the inside, and a double take there from Leggett, and that's going to put him underneath the clutches of Erdmann and Nebelshek here. And Nebelshek will be a man on a mission to try and get back up through the field. We know how good he is at passing vehicles one after another, and he'll try and do the same again as he moves up to the inside as they come up towards the big corkscrew corner. He gets the position, but can you slow it down? Peter Van Gool spin for Erdmann on the outside, and he's got to wait now as everyone starts to struggle a little bit. One RSO car runs off a little bit, and that's Robin Haase, who has to be very careful about running off a little bit too much in that stage. But the front four still battling it out. Rizzo and Dima third and fourth, first and second going to Richard Haynes and Steve Hefford at the moment out on track. Those four split by 1.8 seconds out on track only right now as Maxwell and Ayres go at it, as so does Leggett and Nebelshek, who now finds himself, get this, 3 laps inside the top 10, 26 positions in 3 laps. It's a masterclass at the moment from Nebelshek as he tries to push forward. He's got past Leggett. Next up's Jamie Ayres. Ayres is going to have to go defensive here, but he's not defensive enough as Nebelshek thinks about the inside at turn 3. Not going to get it done there as he's going to have to look now for a different place, try and make that move happen. It does not work there, and he's got to sit a little more. Nicole Foggy, though, in the background, trying to find a way past Peter Van Gool, and behind him, Ashley Beard and Johnny Brandon trying to help out in the mix, but not quite there as they move up through turn 6, 5 even, out on track and into turn 6, which is this left-hander up the hill. So this is going to be a big challenge here as Hefford's starting to gain a little bit of a gap here at the front of the field. Rizzo, though, through on Lee Dima, and that's a crucial move there to get his way through. Did it at turn 4, a mistake from Dima, who ran a little bit too wide, got a slide on, able to save it, but Rizzo very comfortably finding a way through there at that section, and even had to chop the nose there off of Lee Dima through turn 9 as he went on and continued on his driving. But Nebelshek still thinking about how do I get past Andy Maxwell. Can't find the way through just yet. Behind that, though, look at the scrap. Foggy's found his way through, but Leggett's under pressure here. Moves hard to the inside early, and Ashley Beard is going to comfortably get one. Is Johnny Brandon going to follow in the footsteps? Yes, he is on the outside, trying to make that move, and he gets the move very comfortably done in the end as Nebelshek makes some contact there on Andy Maxwell. Maxwell's got to be careful here. Nebelshek's trying to find every which way to get through and gets a nose down to the inside. No contact there between the two. Maxwell really has to leave the door open, and that's what Nebelshek wanted. He prized it open like a common thief and got the position away, and following in those footsteps is going to be Jamie Ayres on the outside, trying to find a way through and to gain that position. I think he's going to get it. Yes, he is. So Maxwell drops back a little bit, and all of a sudden Foggy trying to stretch his own leg, try and chase back down in the pack. A little bit further down, Lord Murray trying to have his scrap in the lower regions of the top 20 as Joe Mitchell now has dropped a couple of positions. Mikey Key there in 19th, just ahead, having a solid run of things at the moment as they go up the hill and continue to have their scrap. No dice between any of them at the moment, but the leading two continue to stay the same here at the end of lap 5, start of lap 6. Steve Hefford leads, Richard Haynes in second position, being kept honest throughout this race at the moment, has Steve Hefford been as he's been trying to push. He had a very solid qualifying in race 1 up there in 50th position, but he wants to find just a little bit more as he tries to find himself with a bit of battling. Traffic on exit is Jim Flanagan. That's not going to be useful at all. They'll catch that in a couple of laps' time. So now they've got to start thinking about picking the moment. When's the right time to attack? Here comes Nicole Foggy trying to find a way past Maxwell, who goes defensive on the inside, but Foggy's just going to breeze by on the brakes. He was a good 20 meters later in terms of hitting his marks, and he was on the brakes a lot lighter as well than what Maxwell could ever do. And this isn't going to allow Ashley Beard maybe a half chance of trying to close down that gap. Not going to work. Hansford lap traffic out of the way as Nebelshek has now caught Sean Gardner in the Boosted machine in 6th position. So this is the next big challenge for Nebelshek. 11 seconds off the race lead, but he's had to fight so hard. Gardner left the door open. Nebelshek said, "You're not going to give me another chance. I'm going to dive down the inside and take that position." Nebelshek is storming his way through, and Foggy will soon be onto this one as well, as Ayers can't get past Hanford, just about manages to be able to at the moment. Lee Deemer's now starting to fall backwards a little bit and into the clutches of his teammate Adam McNally, who's now going to have to try and run the gauntlet against Cedric Nebelshek, and that's not going to be too brilliant at all in terms of both of them trying to make progress, trying to battle it out. Middle of the pack, still very, very intense as they continue on. Ayers under pressure. Here's Foggy, tried to go around the outside to make this move at the final corner. Ayers has got to leave him no room there on the outside. You can't give anyone liberties with a driver who's quick, as Gardner is still under that pressure and now will be really chomping at the bit to try and defend both of them. Foggy might just decide, I'm going to get both of you here at this section. He's got the inside line. Ayers is trying to take the drop, but he's left the inside open. But look how good on the brakes they are, and Gardner tries to follow at the same place, but he's stuck on the outside dirty marble area, so he's going to drop both positions there as he couldn't get any traction on those tyres. So just like that, Jamie Ayres moves himself up into 8th position. In fact, goes absolutely nowhere in terms of where he wants to and be. But the leaders, again, still half a second between them, still Richard Haynes, hoping that there is a chance that Steve Hefford makes one small mistake here in this field. A relatively clean battles that we have seen out on track, and nothing has really screamed out that there's been any real dramas to speak of. They're doing 30.8s at the front. Nebelshek, probably one of the fastest men on track, 30 flat that last time by. Nebelshek will definitely not catch for the victory. He might just only get one more, and Adam McNally, as we are already at the 2/3 distance, and in fact heading into this final third of this race, and still it's Steve Hefford who's able just keep Richard Haynes at bay. Is Haynes just sitting and waiting and looking for a chance to pounce as they round the final corner and look to try and move on forward and keep on pushing? Do not count out Cesare Rizzo, who sat there in 3rd position. If these two come together, it could be fireworks, and this could be it for Richard Haynes, who looks to the inside and can't quite get there just yet. He was thinking about it, but he did so well in that draft through turn number for the final corner to turn 2. So that's going to be one of the big cases to be keeping an eye out on track. Still, big pack forming behind Ashley Beard, who's now made her way through on Jamie Ayres. And there's Gardner and Brandon and Maxwell. Carstensen starting to close in on this one. Battle a little bit further down the field. Hansford get lapped by Paul Burgess in the end, but it's Hedgecock and Van Gool, as Van Gool actually does run wide heading through turn number 3, and Hedgecock's going to think about the inside in the boosted machine. Why not track extend a bit more there, Peter? Good save, but loses the position and maybe a second as James Leggett may come back in his own boosted machine. That looks yellow in terms of the stripes. It's saying, oh look, hit this, says the boosted liveries. Here's Nebelshek though, fighting for a top 5. Adam McNally, does he defend it? They're both catching Lee Deemer at a rate of knots as they go on the brakes into the corkscrew. Once again, no dice. Nebelshek, oh, he thought about it, bit of contact there. Gets the rear, McNally gets very heated behind the cockpit as he streams with Excite Energy as they go through, and there's still going to be chances. Nebelshek must be patient here with these two, and do you multi-21 now with McNally? Lee, let me through, I'm quicker, I can run away here from Cedric Nebelshek. We both have to play the blocking game at the moment, and here's the chance as they make their way onto the front stretch once again. Any chance is a good chance as they continue to battle. There's 2 laps to go though as they cross the line, and McNally is through. Lee Deemer now must defend for 5th and 4th, but oh, door open, you can't leave him that That's a comfy one for Nebelshek to make the move. And all of a sudden, Nicole Foggy on the back as well. The two starlets making progress. Johnny Brandon doing a good job of making moves as well as he tries to pull himself back through the field as well. He's found himself a good move past Sean Gardner as behind Niels Carstensen tries to get around Andy Maxwell. Can he find a way? At turn 4, is there a chance around the outside? He's going to try. He's tried 2 corners, but no, there isn't for Carstensen. And suddenly Hedgecock wants in on the action. He thinks about the outside, defended at the moment by Carstensen in the Rennsports Online car. They get on the brakes into turn number 5. Big up and under attempt coming in. I think Hedgecock's got the run. Can he get it up through? Can he thread it through at this corner? No, he can't. He'll have to stay behind for the moment. Mistake, though, for Richard Haynes, who struggles out to the exit of the corkscrew, and he may have just given that one chance away to Steve Hefford with a slow-down penalty through that section. Not what was wanted. Now look at Nebelshek down the inside at turn 10 here, trying to get past Adam McNally as the white flag will come out. Bit of contact between the two. How deep do you go, McNally, on the brakes? He fights him every step of the way, and he's going to give him no room on that exit. He tries to cut the door off. He does. Foggy's now going to try and get in on this as well. Brilliant fighting here as the white flag comes out for Steve Hefford, who leads by 2.5 seconds now. Cesare Rizzo may have a half chance of getting second place overall, but Nebelshek and Foggy are right together again. McNally's got to keep them both back, but he runs too wide through turn 1, and both positions go. Foggy gives a tap to Nebelshek behind as the two championship favourites battle it out together for a second straight time. Hefford's clear, Rizzo unable to catch, but it place train, which seemingly has all the battling at the moment, as just behind that Carstensen again fends off Adam Hedgecock, who's looking every which way to make the move. Now Nicole Foggy, what do you have? Can you get past them? Best Nebelshek again? Can you find a move on Sedi Bear? That's the question that comes up here on this white flag lap as they make their way up through turn 6, looking at maybe turn 7 coming up next as McNally struggles, Dima struggles. They won't have too many struggles more. This is the last chance for Nicole Foggy to make the move as he looks to the outside of the corkscrew. Not quite getting there. Rizzo trying to go for second position. Richard Haynes is under so much pressure. Chances with 2 corners to go. Steve Hefford, though, will take Momo to a victory here as he rounds the final corner. But is it a 1-2? Rizzo's going to try around the outside to make this one work here on Richard Haynes, but Haynes has him covered every which way of the step of the way. Steve Hefford wins race 2 here at WeatherTech Laguna Seca. Haynes second with Rizzo third, and a drag race between Nebelshek and Foggy, which Nebelshek just holds on, and Nicole Foggy gave everything to try and close him down. Just a half a car length too far as McNally gets 6th, Dima in 7th. Good battling towards the end as Holmes cannot get onto the back of Hedgecock and Carstensen quick enough across the line. Van Gool, I think, has just bested Burgess over to the start finish as well. Got another drag race here. Robin Haase just about gets around Mikey Key come the end of that one. So a good position there for Haase. He gets himself to 22nd. Lorne Murray doing a good job of things. Kip Stevens went absolutely nowhere in that race. He just got caught from pillar to post, maybe being a little bit too nice out on track. But classified results then from race 2 are as follows. Steve Hefford, well, the margin does not tell the story. 4.7 seconds in the end, his victory over Richard Haynes, who had to fend hard in the final lap against Cesare Rizzo, who finishes in 3rd. Cedric Nebelshek and Nicole Foggy, the 2 starlets, their 4th and 5th place finishes for them, with Adam McNally 6th place overall. Lee Dima gets 7th and Ashley Beard 8th, making it 3 straight for Excite Energy, 6, 7, 8. Jamie Ayres in 9th and Johnny Brandon rounding out the top 10. Sean Gardner gets 11th with Andy Maxwell 12th. Niels Carstensen in 13th, ahead of Adam Hedgecock with Brian Holmes and James Leggett 14th and 15th, between them. James Leggett 16th. Peter Van Gool gets 17th with Paul Burgess in 18th. Joe Mitchell and Robert Lundgren rounds out the top 20 as Dan Brown gets 21st and Robin Haase 22nd. Mike 23rd as we look further down, likes Lorne Murray for Automech in 26th, and drivers who were struggling and starting to fall back. Cody Erdman struggled. He went all the way back to 32nd position, just behind both Dominic Savicki and Stevens. Andrew Woodhouse didn't make much progress. He falls back to 33rd, with Adam Bath along with him in 34th place. Bert Van Essen, Craig Harrison, Daniel James will be at the front of the grid for the final race. Drivers who will have to start at the back include Hansford, Dale Bennison, and Jim Flanagan, who failed to make it. And well, with that, race 2 score complete, but this is the big one. It's 30 minutes in the next race. It's a bigger challenge. It's a longer challenge. It's a tyre game that people will battle, but where will they start? There's only one place you can really know where they start, and that is with one wheel that certainly seems to spin. We are going to spin said wheel, and we're going to see where everyone comes up. It's 10 that we are only seeing, so a very small reverse grid, which allows Johnny Brandon then to find himself on the pole position for that one. A 10-car reverse grid, a big challenge. We're going to step aside as race 3 will come up shortly. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the British Sim Racers. Brilliant racing here of the TCR Sunday Cup. This is round 1, 2, and 3 here of the championship in its inaugural form with these beautiful TCR cars here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca. The big long race here, race number 3 of the night. It is going to be a half an hour race, and this is a test of endurance, a test of tyres as drivers look to battle. It's a small reverse grid as well, as Jake Sperry here alongside with Cisco Scaramusa on the cameras, bringing you the action. But a massive thanks, of course, to those who get it done for us, Forcex Designs, and of course to Violet for the music that you have been hearing, maybe a little bit longer than what some people have been maybe thinking about. So some great action that we have seen up and down the grid with some brilliant racing that has been shown. But this final race, always going to be the big challenge. It's the half an hour, it's the big grand finale, so to speak, of the championship weekend. And of course, people thinking about, where's my momentum coming out of this one here at Laguna Seca, moving on to round 2 of the championship, which you can catch here live and uninterrupted on Forever Sim Racing, of course, at Alton Park. Always going to be a fantastic track with some brilliant action that's going to be going on again and again. Of course, this series running in conjunction with the official IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge calendar, of course, which iRacing have very beautifully put on and put together, and some brilliant racing, you have to say, comes out from a whole slew of drivers classily racing the way that they have been doing, especially in that second race. But to what are the challengers? Johnny Brandon made some good progress up through the field. He'll be the man who starts this reverse grid on pole position, and a big challenge for those drivers will be, how do you make moves when the whole mid-pack of the field is effectively a lot more sorted out than they were? You would say that with a very small final reverse grid, that those that are near the front have a much better chance of victory and podium. Those two that I talk about who have that much better chance, a certain Cedric Nabelshek, a certain Nicole Foggy, V-Race and Rensport Online are going to go to war all season long over this, and that, you can have my words, coming through at Laguna Seca. It's been some brilliant battling all throughout, but this is where you now start to figure out, where is the next step? Where is the next building block as I build my season up? And this is where you get a good foundation. Now you start putting the bricks up. Round 3 of the championship always is where the bricks start to be laid. So those who maybe did well in that second race, you look at Excite Energy, they got 3 cars up in there. Brian Holmes really was waiting on that opportunity to get through after what was a mistake in his opening race. Moving up into that second race, he had a very solid showing, and will look to try and do exactly the same again. There are a few drivers that are a little too far down the order that need to make positions. Kip Stevens, certainly one of them. He's certainly not one of those drivers who will be content with sitting around in 31st position after that second race that he had. He'll be making some great moves. But of Steve Hefford and Richard Haynes, both of them showed some great character as they battled. Not necessarily too much of the side-by-side stuff, which I think a lot of people have a lot of tendency to get to, but the more different matter of fact between them was the fact that Hefford just survived and held on, and when the tyres started to go for Richard Haynes and he started making mistakes at the corkscrew, he then got drawn into that battle with Cesare Rizzo, who, as we know from Media Day, very much defends with everything that he has available. Nothing like Australian racing, where you very much have to let positions go by letter of the law and letter of the rules. So a little bit different in terms of how this one could potentially play out, but some great drivers up and down the field are going to be looking to try and make this massive push to go through. What about the Apex boys? They both want to try and get through. Bath and Woodhouse, they both struggled in that race and will now look to try and gain positions in this one. Adam Bath sneaking away with a top 10 on Media Day on the final few laps of racing action. But ultimately, this is going to be the case to be made. Who has the guts to pick up victories? Who is going to go for the 50% move or the 20% move, knowing that the protest sheet comes in on Monday and everyone's grievances will be filed in detailed lists and meetings, which I know I've been a part of in the past, which go on for hours on end, and debate comes in and everybody wants to have their say here, there, and everywhere on penalties that happen as 10 minutes expire in practice. 30 minutes are going to be coming up in racing. A grid formation will come up in a couple of seconds, and my goodness, some great racing coming up to finish off proceedings here tonight. Your grid starts up looking a bit like this. Johnny Brandon will be on the pole position, and he'll have Jamie Ayres alongside. Following that will be Ashley Beard and Lee Deemer, Adam McNally and Nicole Foggy 5th and 6th. Nebelshek starts from 7th with Cesare Rizzo 8th and Richard Haynes 9th. Steve Hefford rounds the top 10. Following that is Gardner, Maxwell, Carstensen and Hedgecock. Holmes starting 15th with Leggett, Van Gool, Burgess, Mitchell and Lundgren rounding out the top 20. Brown and Haase 21st, 22nd. Key, Hendy, Jacobson, Murray, Jackalette, Danes, Hardy, Savicki and Stevens makes its way to 31. And Erdman, Woodhouse and Bath, Roberts. You've got Ayers, Kellyman, Van Essen, Harris, James Hansford, Benison, Flanagan and Bingham. Your 44 that take to the final grid of the evening. You only have a minute to grid up, so if that was a crash course on exactly where everyone was going, well, keep your eyes peeled on the left-hand side of your screen for where everyone is going to be sitting up. 1 minute put on the clock. Engine notes start to rise. The final race of the night is underway, and Johnny Brand gets a good one. That's a very slow start. Oh, you missed the start completely there from the middle of the grid. I think that was Lee Deemer who lost it, and he's lost 10, 12 positions as they go to the start. On the brakes they go into the first corner, and there's almost drama as I believe, yes, the Excite Engine car's going to go around, and the Nebelshek gets caught. Foggy survives as they go through, and just like that, it ends in disaster for the Nebelshek. He's able to hold on and continue going, but at what cost? Middle of the pack with Joe Mitchell, so he's down in about 17th position overall in all of this. That's not part of the script. It was, though, for Johnny Brandon, who's walked away with V-Racer with a big lead over Ashley Beard. Jamie Ayres in 3rd position now. It was Adam McNally who got turned as Nicole Foggy is in 4th now, with Cesare Rizzo rounding out the top 5. A spin on that one. We haven't seen them too many, but now we do. Both Nebelshek and Leggett run wide in the background as now Lee Deemer thinks about going down the inside. Makes some contact there as also Joe Mitchell finds his way through in that mid-pack scrap, and just behind Deemer now, who struggles, here's Carl Jackalette thinking about the inside. They're too wide as well, with Brown and Haase just behind that as well as they go into the corkscrew for the very first time. And this is what I think everyone's thinking about, just how hard the battling is going to be. Wide goes Johnny Brandon, and he's going to lose a whole heap of positions. Did he cut the chicane at the corkscrew? I think he did. He ran it in a bit deep one way, and then through the second part, he cut it too much. So a massive slowdown penalty. The one that hurts the most drops him all the way back to 4th position as Cesare Rizzo now starts to get aggressive on the outside of Richard Haynes, trying to defend that position. Can he get there on the brakes? No. Haynes picks up the position, but now do you let your teammate Steve Hefford go through? Knowing how quick he is, Hefford couldn't shut the door quickly enough there on Brian Holmes, who is trying to make things elementary, but he's not quite there just yet. So Brian Holmes up 7 positions off the start with a great start by his standards as they go on forward. Rizzo still trying to attack though, but again, look at that, no gap between Hefford and Holmes as they go through, and Rizzo is going to go sideways here, is he? Oh, he's going to go hugely sideways. He gets some gravel, and Haynes is going to find a way back through, but so will Hefford, and Holmes decides, nope, I'm not having any of that. I'm not going to go too wide. And the two teammates come together. They both get some gravel, and they're both going to drop 4 positions, and the Nebelshek going to find his way through, as well as Van Gool, as well as Brian Holmes in all of that one. Massive at the moment as Ashley Beard leads this one from Jamie Ayres, and Nicole Foggy now finds himself in 3rd. V-Racer 3rd and 4th at the moment as things stand, but Ayres and also Beard are going to have to defend hard here in this one as Nebelshek just behind makes the way down the inside of Peter Van Gool and moves up another position. Just in front of that though, there is that scrap going on Too wide as Brian Holmes gets a good run here on Richard Haynes, trying to get this one procured into turn 2 at the Andretti hairpin. Can the move be done as he's got the inside in the corner, always leaning left? Yes, is the answer. A good move then, as that one is scored and completed, as Richard Haynes now looks behind at Nebelshek and the forming train, which includes Van Gool, Hefford, Burgess, Rizzo, Joe Mitchell's there, Dan Brown's there, Lee Deemer trying to recover there, and in the middle of all of that is Van Gool struggling a little bit, and Rizzo's going to get one back. Is he, as they head through turn 4 and now to turn 5, where Rizzo struggled a little bit earlier on the brakes. Now lap 3, this is when the tyres start to work. They don't for Hefford in front. He gets in together and makes 2 bits of contact there with Paul Burgess and survives. And we know that these cars are very hefty and can do well, but he gets a second bit of contact as one of the Excite cars of Brian Holmes goes off in front of that as well, in contact with Nebelshek. It's all kicking off in the middle of the pack and just catching an eye on exactly what had happened there. Everyone starting to drop positions, and in fact there was a little bit more contact as they all went through. And was there a bit at the chicane? There was, as there's 2 vehicles turned around, and they're both Excite cars. One's Brian Holmes, and I think the other one may just be McNally who's gone around. It was, so both Excite cars saying thank you very much. Replay then up on screen for you of exactly what happened in all of this. They get on the brakes, and we're keeping an eye out on what happened. A big spin there for Brian Holmes as he tried to go through. I think that was McNally spinning. Holmes had already spun in front of that, so some spins there early, not doing too much justice to the cause. But the front of the pack, top 3 nose to tail at the moment, and they've broken away by 2 seconds here as Ashley Beard, Jamie Ayres and Nicole Foggy are looking at this one. Foggy, I think, is very happy to wait here behind these drivers. He knows this is a longer race. He doesn't have to go out there and be aggressive and gain positions. If anything, it would be quite helpful if he had a teammate behind him in Johnny Brandon to help things out. Little wide on that line there from Jamie Ayres. That's not good. Brian Holmes out of the race. Robert Lundgren out of the race, both of them. But here's the chance for second then, and there is Foggy down the inside, and the Scotsman, well, he's certainly flying at the moment. He's up now into second position overall, and he'll be pleased at the way that he's made that move. Pack, though, behind Dominic Savicki, struggling as Cesare Rizzo 4th in line as he just about gets it stopped on the hill for the corkscrew, which has been the big game changer. Look who's at the back, 2 Automet cars, one Kip Stevens, the other Lorne Murray, both of them trying to get in. There's Robin Haase in the middle of this pack. He's Ren Sports Online, and then you got 2 Momo cars there. One of them is Steve Hefford, who has been refusing to budge for his teammate Cesare Rizzo, so we know no team orders there, but both trying to deal with Savicki at the front of that one. This is a massive pack going on for 10th position overall as they continue on scrapping. The race lead, though, has changed in that time being as Nicole Foggy has made a way through, and he did that one around the outside of the final corner, which is mightily impressive the way that he made that happen. Just got superior traction on that outside and used it to full effect against the Ashley Beard in its Excite Energy car. It was so simple for V-Racer take that race lead, and now they can start thinking about walking away or maybe getting 2 on the podium, as now Jamie Ayres comes under pressure from Johnny Brandon, who starts thinking about, can I make a move at the inside? No, cannot at the corkscrew just yet, but he is now thinking actively about setting up to make a move, to make something happen, which he knows is going to be very beneficial into the future. As for the time being, the gaps in the middle of the pack are starting to extend ever so slightly. Fresh air given to 5th place, and Cedric Nebelshek, who's found a way past both Richard Haynes and also Paul Burgess. So now up inside the top 5 is Cedric Nebelshek, and he will try and chase down the pack and get a podium out of it to get damage limitation to Nicole Foggy, who's already 1.3 seconds away at the front of this field. Steve Hefford even in a scrap at the moment. He's still thinking behind Joe Mitchell about how to move up into 11th position. Mitchell defending very early there, and I don't think he even needed to defend. It was a little case there of Indiana Jones and defender of the lost corner. I think it had to be said there, because he knew that I think that he knew that he wasn't close enough to really make that move, and so for the time being, Steve Hefford is seeing a few defensive lines and will be very happy about that. His teammate behind, though, Cesare Rizzo, he's under pressure. Here's Robin Haase looking to move to the inside. No door there. Bit of contact there. Rizzo's going to go straight on, and that will do it. Not enough room left. There was a slight overlap, and they touched, and Cesare Rizzo now backed hard into the wall. There is a replay as we get this one for you, so keep an eye on this as we go from an aerial coverage perspective. Cesare Rizzo is blocking that line on the inside, so you have to move to the inside. There's the faintest bit of contact, and Rizzo's got nowhere. He lightly brushes with the tyres, able to get away with it, but just like that, Cesare Rizzo back out on track, and he finds himself behind Adam Hedgecock now, which puts him back in 24th position overall as he readjusts himself. Battle going on, though, as Dominic Savicki has lost two positions. Oh, sorry, just the one, sorry, as Steve Hefford makes his way through around the outside, I do believe it was, at the final corner. And Steve Hefford now will move himself up inside top 10 out on track. He will be happy with that move being scored, completed, but it's not over. Savicki's going to look at it. Mitchell under pressure behind, as well as Haase moves around the outside and gains the position just about there in that place, as Joe Mitchell very much could not do enough there to hold that, and now the train behind will try and get through. Kip Stevens there with Lord Murray and Chris Dane all looking to try and get a nose in and try and scrap in that middle of the pack battle, but it's the battle for third now that becomes the next big focus, because Jamie Ayres is under pressure. Here's Johnny Brandon trying to get away down the inside. Not quite finding it, though, as the door left half ajar for the V-Racer machine, as Johnny Brandon has struggled a couple of corners with the slow down penalty. He's okay this time as he goes through the corkscrew now through turn 9 and towards turn 10. He's just in that area of time where he just needs a good run, and this is it. The mistake coming, clipping the curb, the anti-cut curb early did Jamie Ayres, and he's going to lose the position overall, as all of a sudden looming in the mirrors is that very dangerous blue and black and white machine of Cedric Nebelshek trying to chase down a podium here against some of the V-Racer best that are going at it. The gap at the front extends now to 3 seconds ahead of Ashley Beard at the moment. Still, we got some good battling a little further down the field as Lee Diemer and Cody Erdman even look to go at it. Erdman really making up for that race 2 that he had where he dropped 30 odd positions. He's up 15 at the moment as he just goes a little deep in through turn 1, shuts the nose down there on Lee Diemer, and Adam Barth now in the background is thinking, well, I've got a chance here to go and get some positions. He's up 15 of his own. Someone else up 15 positions. That seems like it's a magical number at the moment in this field, is John Roberts. He himself up a good 15 as well, as we have got a handful of retirements and a handful of people a lap down looking to try and score some vital points as they look to finish the racing action out on track. But still, for the time being, some good scraps up and down the field. Hefford now trying to be under pressure as Dominic Savicki looks to regain the position. Has Hefford gone a bit too deep here through the corkscrew? He leaves the door open to side by side, but he's got the crucial inside line through this section. How hard do you push? It's an up and under attempt coming, and Haase is going to try and get in. There's contact there as Savicki gets a tap, and Robin Haase say, keys, that's mine, and he gets that position. He'll be happy with the gets that he got, and now he looks for a second. Not quite getting there. Behind that, though, side by side, as Chris Danes moves through on Joe Mitchell very comfortably. Stevens not quite finding the way to make the moves that he wants to, as this middle pack has been the big battle pack that we've been focusing on. Dane's not done with Mitchell, though. Stevens might think about going down to the inside. Has the door been left open? It has, as they go through, and Kip is going to get that position sorted. Yes, he is, sir, as he now gets it through. Mitchell may try and fight back at turn 3, and the door was left open there, and they make contact get there. So Lord Murray is going to decide, I'm going to try and get through on my teammate, and they're going to come together just like that. The two teammates touch, but they both survive, and Lord Murray has the position that he was looking for. He'll be very happy with that. A little further up the field, the battle for 6th and 7th is between Dan Brown and Richard Haynes. Brown being caught at the moment in his V-Racer Audi, and that makes it 3 V-Racer cars inside of the top 6 at the moment, as Nebelshek has easily made his way through into 4th and now into 3rd because he's got by Johnny Brandon. So Nebelshek is moving again, and he got this one done here at the corkscrew through the section. A little slide from Johnny Brandon at that corkscrew, had to gather it up, but by the time he gathered it up, a few tenths down the road was Cedric Nebelshek, and just like that, that wasn't part of the script. But what is for Nicole Foggy is 6 seconds the race lead over himself and Ashley Beard, currently in 2nd place overall. But Nebelshek will want to be the man who wants to chase that gap down and make that very, very different in terms of the way that this race is going to be run. We're already getting towards half distance as through down the inside of Steve Hefford goes Robin Haase, and Haase just gets the position, but Hefford's going to fight back, gets the dummy down the inside there, he gets the nose, and he's caught Haase napping there, and Haase thought that he had it done, but ultimately he does not. So there is the position lost. Just behind the pair of them waiting is Dominic Savicki, as both of them drop a little bit back. Peter Van Gool, huge defense there to the inside, this time from Hefford, giving Haase a piece of his own medicine maybe there as he gets for the second time stuck behind a Momo car. Savicki thinks about the inside. They're almost 3 wide as they fan out through this section. Savicki wisely backs out of it up the hill to turn 6. Steve Hefford has done well to hold off Robin Haase in that little battle. Good work going on between them as Ashley Beard comes under pressure. The 2nd position overall. Here's Nebelshek, not going to get it through 10 or 11 at the moment. It may just have to be through turn 2, and Johnny Brandon may be thinking about trying to use the draft here of Nebelshek to find a pick past Excite Energy's Ashley Beard. Their number 1 in Brian Holmes is out of this race. They've got to get something from it, and Ashley Beard is the one who's going to try and fight and make sure that he can do so. The race victory, barring a big mistake from Nicole Foggy, which are few and far between, is pretty much done. Nebelshek unsure on which way to go, middle of the road driving from Ashley Beard. A tap on the exit of turn 3 there from Nebelshek, showcasing exactly what he's thinking, showcasing what he wants, as now moving through 4 and into 5. This could be the next place you go and make that move. Rennsport cars have not done brilliantly in the brakes to turn 5. And I think he gives another little shot, saying, come on, let's go. I want to go racing. Gets the inside line at turn number 6. Johnny Brandon thinking about following just behind. They bang side by side, and Nebelshek says, thank you, I'm finally going to get it. And he gets so without Johnny Brandon being able to make the move. Nebelshek into 2nd, and a little wiggle there from Nebelshek to give the signal of, I'm testing if I maybe had a little bit of damage from that. Maybe there's a little bit of wheel disalignment at the moment. Not brilliant for Nebelshek if he's dealing with anything minor which could be affecting the way that he drives. Johnny Brandon next to look on Ashley Beard, who has been reeled in, who has been caught, and this is for 2 V-Racer cars on the podium once again. On the brakes they go into that final corner, and again Johnny Brandon just not quite there in order to make that move, but he will have a chance in towards turn 2 out on track as they start the 12th lap of this race. Firmly now we find ourselves in the second half as on the brakes they go. Brandon a little too deep though, and that's going to cost him a second or so as he'll now have to work hard to bring that back. Robin Haase though has caught Peter Van Gool in the battle for 9th place overall. Haase moves to the outside. Van Gool was very early into the brakes. That's Steve Hefford in the background, who's gone straight hard into the wall and is able to keep it going. I think it was contact with Savicki as they came through the section. Savicki was later on the brakes. There's the replay. You had about a minute there, a microsecond to react, and Savicki couldn't, so Steve Hefford gets a whole heap of wall. It's redressed by Savicki come the end, but there you see the big incident, and Steve Hefford, somehow, we said these vehicles were tanky, but he's able to keep going after a massive crash like that. So there we see how Steve Hefford is able to continue. Just behind that, Adam Barth is making more progress here as he's just made a move on Lorne Murray in the Automat car to get himself up into 16th place overall, which I think for Adam Barth has been solid progress, which puts him up 18 places off of the start. Joe Mitchell will be next for Barth as he thinks about it at the corkscrew. Will not be able to go and make that one done as Robin Haase finally gets his move on Peter Van Gool and tries to run away for the hills out on track. Battle though for 5th position on the road is going on as Nebelshek has actually dropped back into 4th position. He's had a mistake, but will stay with 5th just for the time being because Jamie Ayres is under pressure from Dan Brown, who wants 3 V-Racer cars inside of the top 5. I know team boss Josh Martin is watching this and thinking it's going to be a good chance for me if I can get that top 5, and I can say without a doubt that V-Racer owns the Sunday Cup. On the brakes they go into turn 4. No dice, nothing forthcoming just yet. Gonna get an eye on what happened to Nebelshek for you, and he did it on his own. A mistake coming into the final corner. He caught the gravel on the outside, a big slide, and was able to gather it up at the cost of 2 positions. But Brown is through on Jamie Ayres, and he has done so at turn 5, getting down the inside with a very accomplished move there, and the room given by Ayres, very gentlemanly in the way that he was driving. But that battle for second continuing out on track. Now again has Ashley Beard in second, Johnny Brandon in third, and Cedric Nebelshek back in 4th position. Slightly wider line taken there by Ayres, and Brandon may have a shot down the inside here if he's brave. Johnny Brandon is, and Johnny Brandon, room being given. Now, can you fight it on the exit? Yes, you can, but Nebelshek, oh, what a line! You're going to try to overtake off the track? That's madness, Teddy Bear! Where are you going with that? Oh, he's going to go around the outside, and still he tries, and still he tries. I think you can protest for that, as they're almost 3 wide in. He takes the big wide line, trying to get around both of them at the same time. Maverick there from Cedric Nebelshek trying to make the move around the outside off the circuit. My goodness me, he gets 1 for the troubles, and now Johnny Brandon under pressure here at turn 4 as he gets down the inside. He gets mugged, and Nebelshek back to where he was in 2nd position. That is the kind of ingenuity that Cedric Nebelshek and Rennsport Online are known for, and that is why they are so revered as a team when they go out, when they scrap, when they battle, and that is why you have to say hats off on that style of move. Wide running is Joe Mitchell in the 50th place scrap, as here's Adam Barth looking to try and find a way down the inside here at the 2/3 distance. Can he get the move secured and sorted? There's a bit of contact between them, but up they go to turn number 6. And this is going to be the next big key place that they start fighting it out as they go for it and they keep on scrapping. No chance of making the move. Not just yet anyway, as they now look towards the corkscrew. Any chances? Any looks for a next move? On the brakes they go. Oh, it's close, but not quite close enough as he can't get the move there. Adam Barth, Joe Mitchell survives to tell the tale for just another day. Kip Stevens just in front of that though in the battle for 13th place overall. 12th and 13th is thinking about eyeing Steve Hefford. He's quietly gained the positions from 31st up to 13th place, and he wants 1 more if he can, if he will, and at the moment just not quite close enough. Hefford has to be careful though here at this next point in the track. He has been taken out here once already. That he will certainly protest as he's lost a couple of positions for it. How deep do you both go on the brakes? Pretty similar as they both diamond off the corner through the Andretti hairpin and make that push towards turn 3 out on track. No dice for them at the moment as they continue on their scrap. But at the front, it is now 14.5 seconds for Nicole Foggy, who is having a Sunday best drive, so to speak. This is a canter that he can roll to at the moment. Started from 6th position in the lead, and now can just look behind and see that everyone will finish behind him in about a month of Sundays from now, when he's doing about round 5 of the championship. That's how big his lead seemingly is at the moment, and it is a huge lead at that as well. Battle though going on for about 17th, 18th as John Roberts He's going to try and go around the outside of Cody Erdman, moving up into the corkscrew. Can he get the move sorted? Erdman is slightly later on the brakes and has the inside line and is able to pull it up as well. So a good defense there from Cody Erdman, who keeps hold of his position and will try and continue to hold on to a few more positions if he possibly can through this race. Battle, though, going on for 8th and 9th out on track contains Paul Burgess, who has very quietly stayed in 8th position. He's up 10 positions in this race so far. He's got Robin Haase, though, to try and deal with. And what will Haase do on the brakes? Not quite there, heading through turn number 3. Turn 2 at the Andretti hairpin. Now into the right of 3. Both of them just behind Richard Haynes, who has quietly been gaining those positions little by little, inch by inch, yard by yard, and has been very, very comfortable with the way that he's been driving. So Burgess under pressure. Haase in a little bit of tough love position here, going for the inside at turn 5. Burgess, though, does run wide, does have to give a little bit of room, and Haase is going to take full advantage of that in the Rennsport Online car, going to move to the inside of 6. You don't often stay too wide at 6, and just like that, the position is there, and that is a very solid position at that as well, as they battle out again. And the Belshek for 3rd now. For 3rd, he's lost the position to Johnny Brandon round the outside, just about able to hold on to 3rd position. How has he lost that one for a 2nd time? He ran wide up through turn 6 this time, so mistakes creeping in for the Belshek as he had to fight back to gain 3rd position, and now he's got to do it all over again and stop the V-Racer 1-2, and he's only got 5 minutes and a half if he wants to try and make that one work, plus the end of that final lap. So on the brakes they go into the left-hander of turn 2. Johnny Brandon's got to run. He's got 8/10 at the moment, but Nebelshek will desperately want to claw that back in. He has been dragged into Beard and Brandon's race, and Nebelshek did not want that, not one bit. Still, a little battle a little bit further back. Richard Haynes now under pressure as Robin Haase has caught up again in through turn 3. Still waiting for turn 4, looking to transition, using that draft, couple of car lengths between them, which means that there is a half chance of getting that gap. The draft's so good in these sorts of vehicles. Now that gap comes down to a car length only. Do you dare dive for the inside? No, you don't, Robin Haase. You wait for another opportunity that comes along a little bit in the future. Can he get himself a run at 6? It's defended hard by Haynes here as they head into that section, and has to get on the brakes here and get a good run off of the exit, and he's got it. And to the inside as well goes Robin Haase, and Haase is going to make that move for Rennsport Online and get up into 7th. You bet he is on the brakes. That's beautiful. Van Gool now chasing onto the back of this pack as well, which is going to be very key and crucial for them, as Simtech car did not have many answers to respond to the Rennsport Online one. But now for 2nd once again, because Nebelshek has caught once again. Hard to the pit wall goes Johnny Brandon. Nebelshek, oh, he's found an edge. He's found a road. He's found some contact, and they go and spin, and Nebelshek spins it. He finds himself in the tyres, and Ashley Beard steals 2nd position away. Nebelshek will lose 4th now as well to Dan Brown. 3 V-Racer cars inside of the top 4. Replay up on screen. Cedric Nebelshek, oh my goodness, he went for the gap, which did not exist. Well, it did for a moment, but he was all over the curves. And did Johnny Brandon leave enough space on that inside for Cedric Nebelshek? He was driving through regardless, and the 2nd bit of contact will be talked about as well. But Nebelshek again getting caught in instance. This is why Nicole Foggy will leave here from Laguna Seca and head back across the pond to Alton Park with the lead of the championship after the opening round, and you can mark my words on that one. There is Nebelshek in 5th position, still fighting Dan Brown, trying to get something going in the final stages of this race as nightfall soon to come along here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. The sun setting here in the California sun, as now here comes Nebelshek again, thinking about how do I get past Dan Brown, who started 21st in this one. He's thinking about which way do I go. He can't get it just yet. He's got to think of a different point in time if he wants to get that one going. He's got only 2 laps. If he wants to make this one work, he's got 2 laps try and make this one his fantasy, his reality even, as he goes to the outside this time of a V-Racer vehicle. He thought better of it, and he's so good late on the brakes around the outside, but Brown's going to fight him every which way, every which step, and he's on the outside for 3 and 4 though, so Dan Brown has to yield this one and try and pick it up on the exit and try and get back at turn number 5, but he's not quite there at the moment if he wants to make that happen. Nebelshek very much has been calm in terms of that little scrap, not so much in the others. Johnny Brandon, though, will desperately try and chase down Ashley Beard in the battle for second, as it's 3 tandem scraps. Robin Harter has caught on to Jamie Ayres in the battle 6th and 7th, and behind that, Van Gool and Burgess 8th and 9th are tandemed up as well. So everywhere you look, 2 car scraps looking to go for it, as the white flag will soon come out for Nicole Foggy, who leads this race by, get this, 20 full seconds over Ashley Beard. He has waltzed away from the rest of the field as the battles for 2nd and 3rd, 4th and 5th, 6th and 7th, and 8th, 9th and 10th all continue. Beard defensive against Johnny Brandon in the final corner. He's okay though, just for the time being, but Brandon trying to pick up that run off of the exit. No dice, defended by Ashley Beard, the same way Brandon did 2 laps prior. Now what can you do, Johnny, as you go to the outside? You always have a plan. How do you execute this one now, Sunshine? Around the outside at turn 1, at turn 2 even, at the Andretti hairpin. That's not the right plan, Sunshine. Got to look for a different way. Try and make that one work. Haase has got by Jamie Ayres. He's now up into 6th position as the battle 8th and 9th has fallen away. But the focus for the cameras for the majority of this last lap will fall solely on P2, P3, as Johnny Brandon has got that move done, and he's got that done on the inside of turn 3. So there was the plan, and it worked absolutely to perfection there for Johnny Brandon, who will be very happy about the way he made that move. And Ashley Beard does not have long to try and make that recovery and make that work. But for Nicole Foggy, 2 corners to go, 2 race wins in the Sunday Cup, and the championship battle going as P2 continues to scrap. Johnny Brandon side by side as Ashley Beard desperately tries to find something else. He's not got it just yet. Nicole Foggy crosses the line and wins here at Laguna Seca for the 2nd time this race meeting. But Johnny Brandon's got to hold off the last corner lunge. Ashley Beard's going to leave everything on the table, but he runs a bit wide, and that will pretty much signal the end of that. On the brakes they go. V-Racer are going to pick up a 1-2-5 as they go through, as Johnny Brandon gets 2nd, Beard to 3rd, and Nebelshek 4th. Dan Brown gets a top 5 from all of that. Some stunning battling from absolutely everyone. Anyone else going to be brave enough to go on the final corners and get a last gasp move? Maybe Savicki and Stevens, perhaps? No, not quite going to be able to. So that is going to be the end of their runs, as the final few vehicles now start to make their way over towards the line. Some good battling there has been up and down the field, but my goodness me, it has ended with some pretty solid results if you are a V-Racer driver. But official classified results are going on your screen as follows, as Nicole Foggy picks up the win in 30 minutes and 9 seconds, a decimation of everybody else, a class and a cut above, as he wins this one by 22.5 seconds. It's eye-watering over 30 minutes over Johnny Brandon in 2nd and Ashley Beard in 3rd. Cedric Nebelshek will rue missed chances as he made mistake upon mistake and got involved in incident. He gets 4th place, with Dan Brown getting a top 5 starting outside of the top 20. Robin Haase finishes in 6th with Jamie Ayres in 7th. Peter Van Gool gets 8th with Paul Burgess in 9th. Richard Haynes rounding out the top 10. Haynes and Danes next to each other though. Chris Danes getting 11th place with Dominic Savicki 12th, Kip Stevens 13th, ahead of Adam Bath, who gained a great 20 position in that race to finish in 14th. Lord Murray and John Roberts are 15th and 16th, with Joe Mitchell and Cody Erdman 17th and 18th overall. Lee Deemer and Cesare Rizzo both lost dramatically, Lee Deemer especially, off of the start of this race. Niels Carstensen also dropped with Andy Maxwell 21st and 22nd. Drivers like Steve Hefford did not have a good day at the office, back only to 25th. Wouter van Essen in 28th. Michael Bingham 29th position overall. Mikey Key finished as the last driver on the leading lap in 33rd. Drivers the lap down included Anthony Jacobson, Adam Hedgecock, likes of Steve Hansford again, Adrian Hendy, Daniel James failing to finish, along with the likes of Benison, McNally, Brian Holmes, Robert Lundgren, Andrew Woodhouse also failing to get over to the line. But take a breather here, ladies and gentlemen. Brilliant racing that we have just seen, and ultimately no one here looking to sit around and wait for an interview or two, but some great racing, 3 great races here from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca. So we call time on everything as we bring the curtains closed here for the opening round of the championship. 1 week from now, we are going to be heading over to England because Alton Park plays host to rounds 4 to 6 of this championship, the second race meeting of this 12 meeting season. Make sure you check this out with us at Forever Sim Racing as well. Make sure you give us a like, give us a subscribe, follow us on Facebook if you haven't done so already, and make sure that you stay with us for brilliant TCR action. But big thanks also have to go to Forcex Designs, who have been instrumental in terms of the graphics that you've seen, as well as Violet for all her music, which you can catch on Bandcamp and on Spotify. That's been Cisco Scaramuza on the cameras. I've been Jake Sperry, and my goodness me, it's Nicole Foggy who stands head and shoulders above the field, serenity personified, as he takes 2 race victories and puts Nebelshek in his place. If you thought it was going to be a cakewalk after media day, then my friend, you are sorely mistaken. The mistakes came in, and now it's off to Alton to see if this is going to be a continuing trend.